Okay, we're going to begin from page Yud Gimel. Be'ezer Hashem. We'll start with the Hakdama. Hakdama is a preface. The Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he very much liked Chitzurim. After he write the Maimer, he'd write a certain section in Torah, he would write a summary, summation. So, in a similar kind of sense, a preparation, the Hakdama, the prelude, an introduction to a subject is very, very important because it lays the foundation for everything we're going to understand and study in the future, and it really gives us a perspective on the subject matter at hand in a more broad sense, I would say. Now, the laws of Kashrut in general, and mitzvahs in general as well, are not dependent on our understanding of the reasons why Hashem gave them to us. We do the mitzvahs because Hashem gave them to us, because we're here to serve Hashem. So, when we're able to understand the mitzvah to some capacity, to some degree or another, it serves to enhance maybe our investment or our energies as we're going to invest into the mitzvah. But it's not the reason why we're doing the mitzvah. Page Yud Gimel, page 13. This page. Yes. Okay. So the laws of kashrut, of keeping kosher, are actually in the category of a chok, which means a mitzvah that we don't understand its reason. We don't fully understand the reason why Hashem gave the mitzvah kashrut. In contrast to a mitzvah, let's say, don't murder, don't steal, honor your parents, those are mitzvahs we understand. There's some mitzvahs that are mitzvahs that we wouldn't have thought of on our own, but now that Hashem gave them to us, we understand them. Like a mitzvah about the holidays. Mitzvah of kashrut is in the category of a chayk, a mitzvah we really don't understand its full depths. But there are some parts of it that we can't understand. So in this introduction, we're going to explore some parts of the mitzvah of kashrut to help increase our understanding to this mitzvah, this beautiful mitzvah. The laws of kashrut are detailed in the Chumash in Vayikra and Parshat Shmini. Parshat Shmini discusses all the kosher animals, the kosher birds, and what's allowed, what's not allowed to be consumed. There are other parts of the Torah that speak about the prohibition of mixing milk and meat. That's in Parshat Re'eh and Parshat Devarim. So Torah uses some words in bold. Don't shaksu like means to make it's almost like means something despicable. Don't make yourself despicable in a sense by eating creepy crawlies, which refer to rodents and the like, which are not kosher. And it makes us tamei. Now, when the Torah describes the word v'nitzmei sambam, tamei, which means impure, it spells it without the aleph. And by spelling without the aleph, it's alluding to something, that by eating non-kosher food, we experience something called timtum halev. For those of you taking notes, I encourage you to write this down. Timtum halev, v'hamayach, means the stuffing up, so to speak, of the heart and the mind. Just like there's an expression, thick-headed, might mean someone who's has not refined or has not really worked on themselves to be able to understand something. Maybe they don't have the capacity. But that may be a level of ability. But when it's based on timtum halev ha'mayach is much more than that. It means that spiritually, their heart and their minds are stuffed up. They're not a vessel to receive. That doesn't mean they can't receive, but they're not currently in the state of to be able to receive. They're not in a refined state. So what this alludes to is that the consumption of non-kosher foods, they dull, in effect, our spiritual senses, our mind and our hearts. The good news is that we can unclog the system. Don't feel like this is a a sentence for life, but rather it's just stressing what it is. Now, to explain this further, a person is comprised and composed of the spiritual self, their soul. The soul is the person. The body is the vehicle with which the soul expresses itself. So, by way of analogy, you'll excuse me, but I love cars. When I was a child, I lived in Boston. We used to drive from Boston to New York quite a bit to get kosher food, like once a month. I could name every car on the road, make and model. I love cars. So I'm going to give you a mushroom from cars. So in the car, you have the body of the car, got the tires and the metal, the actual structure, the seats. But then you have the engine, even though it's physical in a sense, but that's what actually drives the car. So in the metaphor, that would be the soul. The soul of the car is the engine and how much power it has and whatever, how smooth it goes and all that. So the soul is what drives the body. And the soul is really the person itself. So very often when they talk about a car, they talk about the engine, the power it represents, etc. So the soul is the power of the person. The body is the vehicle that the soul was gifted to be able to express itself into this world, in this world. Because without the body, you cannot express itself in this world. It becomes a spiritual thing. So the body is the vehicle by which the soul is able to carry out its mission here in this world. So the body and the soul have to work harmoniously together. They're two very different energies and forces. But when given the proper diet, physically and spiritually, they can function harmoniously together and they can achieve beautiful things and have an everlasting effect on the world. So the art of Jewish living, in essence, is balancing and harnessing the physical body to be used for spiritual pursuits in a physical way. That's kind of what it's about. Now, let me tell you a story. For those of you that were in my class last year, you know that I like stories. Life is one big story. I was on a trip about, this story happened, just a moment, I'll give you the exact time. It happened about 15 years ago. In the summertime, my oldest child, thank God he's now married, he was in an overnight camp in Montreal. And I was in the mountains in the Catskills. And together with other fathers, we went on visiting day. So it's a long trip to drive from the Catskills to Montreal to the camp, which is 2 hours north of the city. It's a 7-hour ride. So I was sitting in a minivan with two other Lubavitchers. And one of the Lubavitchers was the father of a very large family. And his youngest child was in the car. So I'm sitting in the second row of a minivan with this 9-year-old kid. He's got like a million brothers and sisters, God bless them. And to say that he's spoiled would be an understatement. I'm in the food industry. The kid had a bag full of treats and nash, every nash under the sun, every piece of sugar you can imagine. I'm sitting in, and I know how food is engineered. I've been in the food business for almost 25 years. I'm watching this kid eat all kinds of nash. First, he takes out the fruit roll-ups. He's got his soda. Then he's got like his cotton candy. I don't know. He's got sugar up to wazoo. And after about 2 hours of the trip, the kid starts bouncing. He can't sit in the chair. He cannot sit there. He's bouncing up and down. I think myself, this is going to be a very interesting ride. By the time he got to the Montreal border, about 4 hours later, he goes, Tati, my tummy hurts. My stomach is hurting. No kidding. I mean, it's like the good prophet to know what's going to happen. Anyway, so the kid went through this major high because he had this sugar high. Then we all go through this. I mean, some more than others. Then he had the major low, and he was, just very, very placid. This story illustrates that food has a profound effect on us. So if we eat junk food, we feel kind of junky. We don't feel good inside. If we eat well, just like in a physical sense, if we eat well, we feel good. The reason for that is because spiritually speaking, it's not just a coincidence. Spiritually speaking, the food that we eat has a very significant effect on us. And that's why physically it comes down that the food that we eat has a very significant effect on us, because it's rooted so spiritually. Everything in the physical world is rooted in the spiritual world. Spirituality creates. See, and voracious. So because spiritually food has such a profound effect on us, that's why physically it comes down that way. And spiritually, food has such a profound effect on us, it affects our actual operating system. It affects our operating system, meaning our whole, our inner self, our body, our stomach, our whole system. Just like by way of a parable, if you have a computer chip, in order to make it work, it has to be given certain things for its operating system. The same thing, lahavdil, to separate, that in a Jewish soul, a Jewish body have to have certain type of nourishment to be able to feed and nourish its operating system. It cannot function otherwise. Now, why is it that vegetables and fruits are kosher? By design, by nature, they're kosher. Okay, if they come from Israel, there's certain laws of tithing that apply, but inherently they're kosher because fruits and vegetables don't have a personality. They're kind of bland. They might taste a little sweet and a little this, but they don't really have much of a personality. You don't say they're aggressive. This is an aggressive cucumber. This is a very carnivorous type of tomato. No, it's just a tomato. So that's why vegetables are all kosher. Now the bugs on sensitive vegetables are not kosher. That's why sensitive type of vegetables have to be checked and cleaned, which is a separate discussion. But inherently the vegetable itself is kosher. If it's full of bugs, we have to deal with that and remove the bugs from that. On the other hand, when it comes to species in the animal kingdom, the Torah is very clear about what's permitted and what's not permitted. The Torah is goes through very, very detailed account. Parsha Shmini, an animal has to have split hooves, has to chew its cud to be kosher. And Hasidus amplifies this, and also in the Torah, it explains that if an animal has carnivorous nature, if it's a predatory type of animal, we're not allowed to consume it. Lions and tigers are not kosher. Neither are panthers. Cheetahs, just go through the list, right? They're not kosher because they're predatory in nature. And if we eat such meat, what happens is we can absorb some of those unwanted traits into our soul or body. And that's an unwanted, that does not fit in the Jewish psyche, in our composition. That does not fit with our composition. On the other hand, the animals that are kosher, let's say, for example, a cow, goat, the meat, those are animals that are more placid. They're not carnivorous in nature. It could be strong animals, but they can still be kosher, but they're not carnivorous. They're not man-eating type of animals. Now, even animals that are kosher, in terms of their species, the Torah says they have to be prepared in a special, delicate manner to be able to be kosher for consumption. They have to be Cheshvan. They have to be slaughtered according to a special ritual manner. And the animal has to go through a pain-free process, by the way. The shechita knife has to be razor sharp, so the animal does not feel pain when it's being slaughtered. That's just some insight into what makes an animal kosher or not. So in summation, and of course in summation, the same would be actually in marine life. Sharks are not kosher. In summation, we're very profoundly affected by the food that we consume. The Torah is very careful in teaching us and guiding us about what's befitting our Jewish soul and our Jewish body and what's not befitting. A parent who loves their child so much is going to tell the child, okay, you can have this snack, but you have to have a balanced stomach. Same thing the Torah tells us. Yeah, we'll not have sugar food, we're kosher, but we have to have a balanced diet. We have to be nourished. The Rebbe says in a letter, it's going to take the point I just mentioned and it's going to amplify it on an even more refined level. The Rebbe says that muhudadika food, that means even in the realm of kosher food, you can have levels of highly refined food that's with a very good certification. It's very, very refined. That refines our attributes. It has a direct effect on our attributes as people. If a person has a certain sensitivity, they develop a certain sensitivity towards a refinement with regards to the kosher food that they consume, it refines them. They'll develop a very, very laser sharp, delicate sense of spirituality. I'm going to share a story with you about that. Even though someone in the family that I told this, that heard the story from me, he said I have the version wrong. I remember clearly where I heard the story from, so I'm going to insist on this version. Rabbi Penny Krinsky from Boston, blessed memory. He's the older brother of Rabbi Yehuda Krinsky, who doesn't be well, the Rebbe's secretary. He told me this, I grew up in Boston, so he told me this story about 35 years ago. He said when he was a child in Dorchester, Massachusetts, the Frierdiker Rebbe's chassid, his name was Rabbi Damasmet. He was a very, very holy man. Came to Dorchester and he stayed in the Krinsky home. Rabbi Krinsky's father, his name was Rabbi Shmaria Krinsky. He was a sheikh. He was a ritual slaughterer. And Rabbi Damasmet, of course, he was a very God-fearing Jew. And you could eat from his shchita. Rabbi Damasmet he was a very, very Hasidic Jew. He had all kinds of stringencies that most people do not have. He was on that level, not suggesting that it's for the masses, but that's where he was at. And he would only eat from a shchita that he himself shechted, or if he witnessed, he watched a shechet shecht. So even if it was the best shechet around, it was such a God-fearing, and he was so knowledgeable of the laws. If he didn't watch the shechet shecht, he would not consume that food, or the shmaltz dirav. So Rabbi Krinsky shechted a piece of an animal, and his rebbetzin, Rabbi Krinsky made a kugel, potato kugel. She forgot that Rabbi Itcha didn't watch the shkita of her husband's this particular shkita, and they served the kugel at the Shabbos table, and Rabbi Itcha was sitting at the Shabbos table. This kugel was schmaltz. This is pre-oil days and canola oil, avocado oil didn't exist in those days probably, but at least in the mass-produced sense. So they served him the kugel, and he didn't touch it. And after a while, they realized, this kugel is not for you because you don't watch my husband's chef. The schmaltz not that. But he was margish. He felt it's not for him. That sense. Anyway, okay. Any stories before we delve into first? Any questions? No? Good. Let's begin. Page above that is. We're starting with the halachas of basa b'chalav. Let me give you a little intro into that. Basa b'chalav is the prohibition of the mixture of milk and meat. It's very unique in its structure because most other areas of halacha with regards to the laws of kashrut are focused on forbidden foods. Basa b'chalav focuses on permissible foods, but rather it focuses on the forbidden mixture of the permissible foods. So basar and chalav, we have meat, we had steak for supper, we had yogurt for breakfast. No problem, 6 hours left in between. It's the combination of the foods together that creates the issur, known as basar b'chalav. I'm sorry?
What is create?
Create means...
No, I mean, what?
What gets created? Basar b'chalav, if I take milk, for example, and I cook it with meat, which I'm not allowed to do, I'm creating a new existence called basar b'chalav. Beforehand, I had milk by itself and I had meat by itself. The mixture of the two creates something that's forbidden called basar b'chalav. It's a new effect. It looks like I didn't convince you.
No, I mean,
No, ask me a question. I want to make sure you understand.
No, I mean, like, what it creates that it's so not, it's just because God's saying, right? Like,
God said it. No, it does create something because you're now taking two different things, and by mixing them together, you're creating a new thing. Let's say, for example, a chef. They take rice and chicken, and they cook them together. They bake them together. It creates a dish. The rice tastes different because it's baked with the chicken. It's different, right? It's not like regular rice anymore. It's absorbed the flavor of the chicken. It's creating something new. It's not creating something from nothing, from scratch, but it's creating a new effect. So the mixture of basar v'challah creates an effect that's forbidden. Call it an effect, but it's creating something. Okay, so we're not allowed to mix milk and meat together, but we have them by themselves, separately all the time. So that makes the laws of basar v'challah unique because we're focusing on material that's permissible, but we're focusing on the mixture thereof that's not permissible. We have to be careful how we handle it. We need special handling. We have to be cognizant and aware of timing. Oh, we're at dairy. I'm not having my meat for another hour. I had my meat. I'm not waiting. I'm now going to wait 6 hours before having my dairy. Now the Torah enumerates and lists this prohibition not one time, not 2 times, but 3 times. And the fact that the Torah lists this prohibition 3 times, is it just for the sake of boredom? God forbid. Everything in the Torah is precise, and it's to teach us something significant. The Torah is teaching us something unique and different each time it lists the words. Each time it mentions that prohibition of do not cook a kid goat in its mother's milk, which is basar v'challah. So the Torah and the Chachamim darshan out, the Chachamim derive that echad le'isur bishul. One time is coming to teach us we're not allowed to cook basar v'challah together. Echad le'isur achila. Another time is coming to teach us we're not allowed to eat. We're not allowed to consume basar v'challah. And echad le'isur hana. We're not even allowed to derive benefit from a forbidden mixture of basar v'challah. Therefore, when Clifford, my dog, comes out of the doghouse, I'm not allowed to serve him milk that was cooked with meat together. I'm not allowed to do that because then I'm benefiting if I give it to my dog. I don't have a dog, but you're not allowed to give it to your dog. It's even a discussion if you're allowed to give it to a stray dog because he's still going to benefit because then he won't bark at you maybe. But it's an issue. So when you buy dog food, it's something to be aware of. So some dog food, a lot of dog food, by the way, does have milk and meat in it. Ingredients because they want to give proteins to the dog. If it's coming from meat, from an animal, it's problematic. If it's coming from fowl, let's say it's turkey or it's chicken, together with milk, we're not allowed to eat that either, and we're not allowed to mix that either, but you're allowed to have benefit from it. So if you're shopping for your dog food and you want to get pet food and it says on the ingredients, chicken powder, non-fat dry milk, whey, you're allowed to give that to your dog. You're not allowed to eat it, but you're allowed to give it to your dog. But if it says beef powder and milk together, it's not allowed to be given to the dog. It's actually a machlekes in halacha when you have an animal that was not shechted, but from a kosher species. I'm kind of going into a substrate here. You don't have to necessarily. It's not something you're going to come across day-to-day life, but just parenthetically speaking, if you have a kosher species animal, let's say it's a cow, but it wasn't shechted, so now it's an avela. It's a non-kosher animal because it wasn't shechted, it was not prepared kosher. That meat, if that's cooked together with milk, it's a machlekes whether or not it's halal. Because it's already forbidden before it becomes mixed together. Basar v'challah refers to 2 permissible materials that bond together to create a new isser. It already was asur. Different opinions about that. I once had a fascinating shaila come my way. Fascinating experience. I mean, it was a sad experience, but still fascinating nonetheless. My sister and brother-in-law, God bless them, are shluchim in Alabama, or more appropriately pronounced, Alabama. So when I go down there, I gotta, learn how to speak like the locals. Alabama, welcome to Alabama. So there's shluchim there, and there was a Jew in prison, unfortunately incarcerated, about 30 minutes from where they lived. He was a religious Jew, and he needed kosher food. It took many, many weeks to get the kosher food arranged with the warden. So every day, Chabad shluchim would drive to this prison to deliver him a kosher meal. Each way is 30, 35 minutes. So you're talking about an hour and a half, probably an hour and 20 minutes of driving time, plus preparation of the meal, just for Abbas Yisrael. The PR, just because another Jew. So when I was in Alabama visiting my sister, it happens to be during that time, I could do the round. So I did the run. I drove there. I was very touched by the experience. Anyway, I met the prisoner. I'm sorry? It's crazy. I met the prisoner, and the prisoner actually, I know the prisoner's brother professionally. And I said regards. Anyway, long story short, he said to me, and he's a religious fellow, he says to me, you know, before I got my kosher food, I didn't know what to do. So I couldn't eat anything. So I just lived off the snack machine, the chips and the corn chips and so whatever you could find in the snack machine. I lived on junk food for a long time. But how did I get snacks? I'm only allowed like 2 snacks a day. So I took the meal that they served in the prison and I traded it with another prisoner. I gave him my meal and he gave me his snacks. That way I don't have snacks to be able to give me, enough to be able to have, I wouldn't call it nourishment, but at least stave off the hunger. But then he said to my brother-in-law, he said, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that because maybe the meal that I'm taking is bas b'chalav. And if I'm going to take the meal, give it to another prisoner and get my dipsy doodles or get my corn chips and my potato chips, I'm benefiting from bas b'chalav. Good question, huh? So my brother-in-law came to me because I work with Kashrut. This is like 15, 18 years ago. And I looked up the question. I consulted with a relative to make sure that I was on the straight and narrow path. It's a machlekes because in the prison they're not serving kosher slaughtered meat, for sure not, because prison food is the least expensive. So if anything, the concern was maybe it was kosher species meat, but it certainly was not shechted. So since there's an opinion that says that would not be bas b'chala because it's already not kosher by being not shechted, it's already nevela. Machlekes about it. So we said that under such circumstances where he's in prison and such dire constraints, he can be lenient according to that opinion and swap out the food. Just giving an example where this halacha came into play in an unlikely place. Anyway, we shouldn't know of it, but story. Okay, halacha aleph. Perek Rishon Hilchos Bas B'chalav. The first perek, the halacha bas b'chalav. And I have a story at the end of the day. We'll study these for 10 minutes. It says in the Holy Torah, you shall not cook a kid goat in its mother's milk. Why does it speak about that? Why does it say you can't? Why a kid goat all of a sudden? So the Torah says, which means the Torah speaks about a likely scenario. If someone's going to come to a situation where they're going to cook milk and meat, it's more likely they're going to cook a kid goat in its mother's milk. But even if you took a kid goat, let's say, and you cooked it with cow's milk, still a problem. Still bas b'chalav. Just happens to be the Torah is speaking about a more likely scenario. The Torah repeats this prohibition 3 times. The Chachamim, they have a tradition. One time it's written in order to teach us about the prohibition of bishul. Another time it's written because you're not allowed to eat milk and meat. You're not allowed to cook, you're not allowed to eat milk or meat that are cooked together. Another time it's coming to tell us we're not allowed to have benefit from milk and meat that are cooked together. Therefore, you're not allowed to feed bas b'chalav even to dogs, because that's an example of how we benefit from it. Some say even dogs that are stray dogs. That's what it says on the bottom. Certainly to your own dog, you're not allowed to. Halacha base. Even though the Torah says the word gdi, which means a goat, the kavan is not specifically a goat. This din applies to any kosher animal. You're not allowed to cook the meat of any kosher animal with any kosher milk. It's forbidden. It's a no-no. Of a bas v'hema but milk from a non-kosher animal. Let's say you talk about pig's milk. Not a pig's meat. It's a piece of pig. Or milk from a non-kosher animal. There's no issur bas v'cholov in such a case because they're already usher. There's a concept in halacha I want to focus on, and those who take notes, please write it down. Which means something that's already prohibited cannot become prohibited anymore. It's already prohibited. It already has that identity. So you cannot attach a new identity of prohibition to something that's already prohibited. So an animal that's inherently not kosher, let's say it's pig's meat, you cannot make it prohibited by cooking it with kosher milk. It's already prohibited. Of course, you're not allowed to eat it because it's not kosher. Interestingly enough, if I have meat from a wild animal, what would be an example of that? Like a deer? And then if I have meat from a fowl, let's say it's chicken or it's turkey, Minat Torah, you're allowed to cook those with milk. Rabbinically, you're not allowed to, by the way. But Minat Torah, it's allowed. And you're even allowed to eat it, Minat Torah, and have benefit. But you're not allowed to rabbinically, as we'll see in a moment. You're allowed to actually cook milk from a kosher wild animal with meat and eat it. The Chachamim said we're not allowed to eat meat from a wild animal and fowl rabbinically in the smash b'cholif, they're cooked with milk. They're also not allowed to have meat from an animal that's cooked together with a milk from a wild animal. The Chachamim did not deem it necessary to say to add a prohibition on meat that's already prohibited. So, for example, meat from a pig, horse meat. Therefore, they didn't have. It's not an issur of bas v'cholov. The Chacham didn't add it on. But Torah is for sure not bas v'cholov. Even the Chacham didn't add that on in that case because the meat's already prohibited. They also, the Chacham in Mogoizer, which means they established a prohibition that you're not allowed to cook rabbinically fowl together with kosher milk because it looks like bas v'cholov. Marasayim means it doesn't look right.
What is fowl?
That would be chicken or turkey, yeah, like a bird. Because the person is going to see this, is not going to be able to discern between what's cooking now. They'll think it's kosher meat and kosher milk. It's a problem. Hey, someone's doing it, etc. By the way, for those of you that go to culinary school, it's a challenge because they make you cook all kinds of dishes. I had a Shiloh also that came my way. My brother's a shliach in Pasadena. For those of you that heard him last year, he's a Chabad shliach full time. What?
You are shluchim?
What shliach?
You all are the family?
My brother's a shliach. My sister's on shlichus. My other sister's on shlichus. I live here, and another sister lives here. So my brother's a shliach in California, and one of his the people he knows there, she's what's called a zone chef. She cooks private meals for people and delivers it to them. You know, people that live these lifestyles, they're busy, they're running their careers, they want to have healthy food, they have in the freezer, she cooks. So she had a shaila about basal. So she's allowed to buy all the ingredients herself. So she buys kosher ingredients for everybody. But she's cooking in their pots. So there's a shaila about that. Maybe her pots of basal, but we have to deal with that shaila also. We found a way around it. The Shiloh, just mentioning that was also a Shiloh. You're allowed to cook fish with milk. It's not also the Rabbanon. But there are those that say there's a sakana. It's not considered healthy to cook fish with milk. Even though the maskanat apostle is that it's not considered to be unhealthy. Many Sfardim are machmir not to eat fish and milk together, fish products. Any that's only us with Rabban, which is why I said earlier that you're allowed to hanaf from it. It does not have meat. So the Sfardim are machmir not to have milk, fish and milk together. But fish and milk byproducts, for example, lox and cream cheese. Cream cheese is a byproduct of milk. That people do have. There's no official Chabad minhag about this. Some people do it, some people don't. Like a tuna melt would be an example of that as well. Tuna with cheese. So it depends on one's minhag. So the restaurants that you have at Crown Heights will do it. Whether or not it's your minhag to have it will be, you decide based on the menu. Want to order and all that. Any questions on what I said so far? Oh, we're good? So clear? I get the same question every year. There is such a book in English, but it's not a translation, unfortunately. It's a whole anthology that's got I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know of anything. Maybe there is something out there. You can ask at the bookstores, but I don't know of anything. I should make one. Yeah, in my spare time. My students could write one, I'll edit it. By the way, that's just the way it is. I've accepted myself. I'm not that organized when it comes to typing things, writing things up. So when someone needs something from me, I dictate it to them, they send it to me, and I just edit it that way. So that's how it goes. Okay. I'm going to tell you a story, but tomorrow, next week, Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to study about other ways of cooking. Cooking is a general term. Literally, it means with fire. But cooking also can be affected by cooking in broad terms means changing the status of a particular food. So pickling is also a form of cooking. It's not a form of fire, but that's also, so I guess it's a discussion if you're allowed to pickle things, which you're not allowed to, by the way, but it just gets into that discussion. A couple of stories. What's your first name? I'm sorry. Yeah. Leah. I know Leah would like tell stories, so send me this picture that I will tie in that Indian. Last week, the day of Isru Chag, the day right after Sukkot and after Sukkot Torah, was the yahrzeit of a holy tzaddik. His name was the Libnitzer Rebbe, Rabbi Rabinowitz. He lived till his 90s. I saw him. He came to the Rebbe in Tavshim class 1988 when he was Menachem over the Rebbe after the Rebbe was nifter. I'll just share with you a story about him. He was a Baal Moifis, this tzaddik. He lived in Seagate, New York. He lived in Miami. He lived in Eretz Yisrael. He lived all over. He's from Russia. He was a moil. He performed thousands of brisim in Russia, by the way, secretive, with Remendel Futafas. Anyway, he was a Jew who lived on a higher plane. So Yidden came to him for brachas all the time. They got Yeshuas. He used to daven at all hours. He looked at his face. You saw he was mamash a malach, tzaddik. So he did a couple, husband and wife. They were not yet blessed with children, being married for many years. They came to him, they asked him for a bracha for children. One time, he calls them up and he says, I have schoida for you. I got merchandise. Come on over. They come to his house and he says, what do you want? You can have a girl or you can have a boy. If you want a boy, he's going to be a red. He says, this couple, he says, what do you want? You want a boy? You want a girl? I have a girl for you. You want to have a boy? I'll get you a boy. You can have a boy, but he's going to be a redhead. So they said they want a redhead. They want the boy. So 9 months later, the mother had a boy who was a redhead. And many stories with him. He lived on a higher plane. So Mordechai ben David, the singer, was his gabbai. He was his mishamash. She took him around. I was once because I was flying to Miami to pick up a cruise. The year my mother passed away, my father's doctor told him that he must take a vacation. It was a hard year. My grandfather passed away the same year. My grandfather lived till 97. My mother was younger. And it was a hard year. So my father doctor said to him, Dr. Hanoka, you need a vacation. So my father took me and my brother on a kosher cruise. We were saying Chodesh. We had a minion. It was a very interesting experience. One day I'll tell you about it. Anyway, I'm on the plane sitting next to Mordechai Ben David. He's telling me stories about the Rebbe Rebbe. He says, one day the Rebbe Rebbe tells me, I want to see the wild animals. So I drove the Rebbe Rebbe, he tells me, to great adventures. And it said this is in the 80s, in the 70s. And the lions and the tigers were running wild. Because today they're caged. They were running wild. He says, stop the car. There was a lion outside. And he's being misbent. He's looking at the lion. He's being deeply contemplating the face of the lion. Because spiritually, this represents all kinds of things. I don't know. But misbent with Pnei Hari. And then the Rebbe Rebbe opens the window. Can you imagine the scene? Mordechai Ben David is sitting in the driver's seat. The Rebbe is sitting behind him. And he opens the window. He's staring at the lion. The ranger came running. So nothing happened, of course, because a lion, a wild animal will not touch a tzaddik. They see the ceremony, they see godly face, they won't touch it. They won't have a tzaddik. He was also very careful. He didn't say he would only shake hands with somebody who went to mikveh that day. When he came to Nachman the Rebbe, he walked like this with his hands folded. He had piercing eyes. He would see right through the person. So he would shake hands with like every other person. So I saw this happen. And then the Rosh David told me another story. He says, a nice story by a chas, and the drummer tried to shake hands with the Rebbe Rebbe, but he hadn't gone to mikveh that day. So the Rebbe did not give him the hand. So by the chuppah, the drummer had some time off before he had to start playing. He went to the ocean in the toilet. Came back, and he tried to give the Rebbe the hand again. Didn't tell anybody. The Rebbe took his hand. He saw right through it. I have other stories to you, but it's already 10 o'clock, so Leah is going to remind me next week that Mitzvah Shem will share with you. I have an amazing story, actually. It's a contemporary story, but there's lots of stories. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Sag gesund.